Blog Talk Radio.
Let's go. It's time to attack. We the smartest, fastest, and most vicious. We gonna put them in their place. You coming out here? We're gonna play.
And he's gonna fire deep. Puts it there inside the 10.
Throw to Superman.
Good route by Edelman. Now they come on a reverse to the near side and a quick run.
What's up, NFL fans out there, and welcome to another edition of Cover 2 with McMillan and Purdue, the show where we talk nothing but NFL football. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Devin McMillan, and I'm at the round table with my partner in crime, Fred Purdue. What's up, Freddie?
What's going on, man? Craziness in this NFL. So much craziness. We're a little behind, but we make it happen.
Definitely. This is one of those shows, one of the rare shows during the year when we're recording late in the week, so the Thursday nighter has already taken place. So you goddamn right we're going to talk about it because it was a doozy. And let's start off with that, man. Let's go into some quick slants. And we're going to talk about the San Diego. Oh, I sound like Stephen A. out this piece.
Stephen A. Don't
the
do
Los
it, Stephen A.
Angeles Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs, a game that went down to the extreme wire. We got a 1-point win and a comeback by the Los Angeles Chargers, 29-28, when they went for the 2-point conversion instead of saying, look, man, we don't want to do this overtime thing, especially not here in Kansas City. We're going to go for 2. We're going to try to get this, and we're going to get up out of here with the win, and that's exactly what they did, man. What was your thoughts about that game?
Man, I mean, honestly, about 3/4 of the way through the third quarter, I said, man, this Kansas City's running the football. They're lining up. They usually line up shotgun. They want to look pretty. Mahomes is throwing the ball all around the yard. No. They lined up 2 tight ends, a fullback, running back, and said, we're just going to hit you in the mouth, old school style. We're going to cut this game in half. And Derwin James just got completely run over by Damian Williams, who's not a big guy. And if you look at the sequence of plays following that run, I mean, the Chargers looked like they didn't want to tackle him. They didn't look like it just looked like they were losing their will to fight. But the game was only a 2-touchdown game at that point. And I said, man, this game might be over because, that point in the game, guys were like, they don't want to tackle you anymore. And, the running backs are looking stronger as they're getting more tackle or getting more carries. And, it's cold. This is a West Coast team. Everything seemed like Kansas City would win this one. And when, Kareem Hunt, and then Phillip Rivers happened. I mean, I've seen this Phillip Rivers every so often. You see this Phillip Rivers come out, and he has this dog in him, and he has this never say die attitude. And his starting running backs are gone. His number 1 receiver is gone. He has old man Gates with him still, and he says, "All right, let's go." And that's all she wrote, man. That was a crazy game. It was just nuts. So.
And I have to say, man, I think a lot of people out there probably agree with this take, and a lot of people don't. But I think Phillip Rivers is one of the more underrated quarterbacks of all time, not just of his generation, but of all time, because we're living in an era where, you have to have won a championship or, you have to at least go on to some championships to even be considered as a great, but Phillip Rivers is one of the most consistent, quarterbacks of at least his generation, which I think, underrates him in an all-time stance because you'd be hard-pressed, like if you're being honest with yourself, to name 25, 30 better all-time quarterbacks than Phillip Rivers. But a lot of people think they can and they will just because he hasn't, been in that big spot, just because he hasn't won the Super Bowl. You know how it is. Most quarterbacks take on the burden of their whole franchise when they haven't tasted that type of success,
even though it's a
or
team
if their
game.
team Yeah, or if their team, gets a reputation for being chokers in the big moments, you're going to take on that whole burden. This game was very. I think a lot of people out there realize and recognize that Los Angeles had the chance to pull this upset, but now in a division, in a conference, in an NFL that looked like the Kansas City Chiefs were one of the teams that were just going to run away with things, throughout the season, Los Angeles has just pulled even with them in the division at 11-3. This gets more interesting by the day, Fred.
This is Andy Reid. I hate saying this is not quarterback whisper. This is Andy Reid. I can't blame this one on Andy Reid. I can't do it. Kareem Hunt, you should be sued for this, sir.
Yes, he
there
said.
had to be somebody got insider trading secrets. This is the tapes got released just a couple weeks too early. It's Marvin Lewis. That's what it is. It's Marvin Lewis's fault. Let's just put it out there. He knows. He
got all the information. Listen, though, Kareem Hunt, man, he out here. Look, you got your team, faltering in the last few weeks. The division is up for grabs at this point. And a 14-point game with 4 minutes to go. They need you, Kareem. They need you to milk this clock to move these chains and get you up out of here with a win. But you're nowhere to be found because you can't keep your hands to yourself. You out here got fantasy owners, taking playoff L's because of you. Man, this is a whole lot to this dude doing right now, man. But
he shook the NFL. The NFL just everything. His impact is far beyond. He's losing guys money. He's losing people money. He's touching pockets now.
Yeah, he owed me $500. But so yeah, this division race, man, for the final stretch of the season, man, this is going to be real interesting to see. But let's go to Philadelphia. Carson Wentz may have seen his last action of the season. A CAT scan has revealed that he has a fractured vertebrae, and there's some controversy over this because his back issues reportedly and allegedly started around week 7, and they're trying to recognize whether or not the Eagles' medical staff may have botched this and not known about it before. To their defense, a lot of people in the know of these type of situations said that it's not always an easy thing to find on a CAT scan. You even heard one report try to allege that the Eagles may have known about this and hid the injury from Carson Wentz. And in my opinion, that's silly talk right there. This is your franchise quarterback. I don't think unless your medical staff is filled with Cowboys, Giants, and Washington fans, there's no way they're going to keep that kind of information from their franchise quarterback and allow him to go out there and put himself in jeopardy. So I'm not even going to give that any time of day. But they claim it could be a 3-month recovery, but at the same time, he has only been listed. He's only been downgraded to questionable for Sunday's upcoming game versus the Los Angeles Rams. What's your thoughts on all this? It seems like the Eagles season was pretty much over anyway, judging by what they've done in the past 2 weeks, what the Cowboys have done in the last 2 weeks, and the Eagles' upcoming schedule. It seems like, this is only something that people could try to use as an excuse down the road, but it looks like it was pretty much over anyway. What are your thoughts?
This was tough because they're right there for that spot. They're only a half a game out of the wild card, and the way Minnesota's playing, especially going into a game against the Dolphins that before we thought, Minnesota's going to be a best team, but they're in the mix, Minnesota, Carolina, and you have a chance for that last wild card spot, but Nick Foles, this is why having Nick Foles was important, and this is why
I'm glad you didn't trade him.
I'm glad you didn't trade him because you could have Mark Sanchez right now. You could have butt fumbles himself, or I got one better for you. You could have the Peterman. You could have the Peterman right now, but you have Nick Foles, and Nick Foles is capable. He's more than capable. He's actually a borderline. I'm not calling him a top 32 quarterback, but he's good enough that he could start in a pinch. And This is a pinch. You only have, 5-6 games left, including playoffs, if you were to go all the way. So, this is the time where that backup quarterback who's really a starter anywhere else pretty much for the most part. I think this is one of those things, though, when you get one injury starts to become another injury. Hopefully Carson Wentz does not get that label of being brittle. I really hope that does not happen. He does play a dangerous type of game. He's a runner. He can move. He's a big guy, but he gets hit a lot. He gets hit a lot. I don't want him to be Sam Bradford, and I don't want him to, not be able to walk. So, I like Carson Wentz. I really do. Liked him since he was at South Dakota State. I really, really like him. So, really hope he gets healthy quickly. If anything, if you have to sit him, don't mortgage your franchise for maybe a early round exit. I'm just being honest. The Eagles aren't ready for that smoke that's coming in LA, and they'll understand that after Sunday. They'll understand why I say that. They don't want that kind of smoke in LA, and they definitely don't want that smoke.
The Eagles are down to their 13th starting defensive back, man. The Eagles can't guard anybody in the passing game. They got guys back there that no one's ever heard of. If you and I, had spent the last month and a half working out instead of indulging in Thanksgiving festivities, we probably would have a shot to play in the last few weeks of the season for the Birds as well. So they're in a really difficult position right now to try to make any run, especially with, facing down, looking down the gun barrel of the Rams and the Texans in upcoming weeks. But we'll see, if he indeed doesn't play, because they're still considering putting him on the field if it's a situation where they don't think they can do any extra damage to it. At this point, I would just say sit him. Let him sit. Let Nick Foles finish out the season. The only problem with Nick Foles finishing out the season and the wild card that you spoke of, the possibility of a wild card, is the fact that, with Nick, it usually takes a couple of games for him to get started.
He has to catch that fire.
And usually, he comes in, and he can get started against lesser teams. So he can still struggle through a couple of games but still get those wins. Right now, you're getting thrown right into the fire. He got thrown into the fire against the Rams last year, but that was mid-game. The game was already in the fourth quarter. He just had to come in and make a couple of big throws. He didn't have to play a big game, but I think this time around, we know the Rams, a better team offensively and defensively, in my opinion, at least roster-wise. He would have to come in and do more right away. It's not spot duty for a few minutes to just hold on to a game. You got to go out there and try to win a game against one of the better teams in the NFC, one of the better teams in the league. So I don't know, but my advice would be to sit Carson and let Nick finish out this season, no matter what the results end up being. All right, so let's talk about a quick case of can't get right. Somebody that cannot get right, and I'm talking about Martavis Bryant, our Raiders receiver. He has been suspended again for violating the league's substance abuse policy. This time, it's an indefinite suspension. He already served a 4-game suspension. First time around, he served a season-long suspension, The second time around, this time, it's indefinite. What's wrong with your boy, Fred? Why can't he get right?
He just cannot stay off the weed. I don't get this. Josh Gordon was even able to stay off the drugs and the alcohol long enough to potentially go chase a Super Bowl. I mean, you're living the dream, and not only are you just living the dream, some guys are comfortable just, I'm a backup, I'm the fourth receiver on the roster, I'm going to make my $600K, and, you know, I live in Florida, so I don't have to worry about those taxes. No. I'm Martavis Bryant. I used to be one of the best receivers in the league, and I was ascending to being, if not the most explosive and possibly the best receiver, and I'm willing to say that. I mean, he was up there. He was going to be up there with the Mike Evans, the Julio Jones, A.J. Green, Antonio Brown. He was up there. He was cracking the surface, but he couldn't stay off the weed. And that's the problem.
This is my question, though, Fred. Because he was placed on injured reserve earlier in the month with a knee injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
But is it that because he was seen with his prior transgressions, you would think that Martavis Bryant kind of knew the drill. Like, because you were placed on injured reserve, did you not think that you were still going to get tested? Like, did you not think it counted anymore because you weren't playing anymore? I don't know what his thought process was, but effective immediately, he's been returned to the reserve commissioner suspended list indefinitely. And, you know, this is the conditional reinstatement from April 2017 that he violated. So I don't know if this guy's going to get another chance. And if so, you know, it might be too late by the time he does get another chance, man. Some people
at this point, you were set up to succeed. You had Ben Roethlisberger throwing you the football. You had Antonio Brown taking away coverage from you. You had Le'Veon Bell making it where he's getting enough carries where they could just throw it to you over the top. I mean, you were set up. All you had to do was not crash the car. I mean, and then you get Derek Carr throwing you the football. That's not so great, but you know, you were reduced to being a red zone threat and a deep threat, and you couldn't get on the field. He's one of those cases, and unfortunately he'll get back in the league because, you know, the NFL values domestic violence and all that and drug use over, you know, real things. So he'll get back in the NFL. That's not the problem. But will he waste his opportunity? That's the question. Right. Does he love marijuana or whatever his drug of choice is, or does he love getting those consistent checks, those big boy checks?
Yep, and we shall see, man. Right now, he has earned the nickname of Can't Get Right. Until further notice, that's who he's going to be. This dude about to make your man Josh Gordon look like a genius. Like,
yeah, exactly.
He was silly, but he looked smart in comparison to this dude. All right, so last but not least, on the quick slant segment of our show, let's talk a little bit about Stephen A. Smith, man. And this,
I've been waiting on this one.
Yeah, so you know, he was on TV the other day doing the thing that he does, you know, bloviating, being loud. All that stuff. So he's on with Teddy Bruschi and Max Kellerman, and they're talking about the Los Angeles Chargers. And he just goes on a rant where damn near every point that he's making is unbelievably wrong. I'm going to point out some of the stuff that he said first. Point number one. Quote number one. I'm going to have some faith and they were talking about the Thursday night game. They were previewing the Thursday night matchup between the Chargers and the Chiefs. One, I'm going to have some faith in Spencer Ware and thinking he can do some things. Spencer Ware was already listed as doubtful with a foot injury on Thursday afternoon. Max Kellerman and Teddy Bruschi seem to have known this. Stephen A. didn't know this. He was corrected on that. Point number 2, this one I don't get mad at, not because I just did the same thing a few minutes ago, but when a team has played somewhere for the amount of years that the Chargers have, it's still pretty much new to people when they move. So that mistake is going to get made. He said, I'm also looking at the San Diego Chargers on offense. So I'm going to forgive you for that one, Stephen A. But then he just digs this grave a little bit deeper. Number 3, and I'm thinking about Hunter Henry and the way that he's played this year. Newsflash, Stephen A. Hunter Henry has been out all year with a torn ACL. And point number 4, I think this when he got the grave all the way down to 6 feet. He said he's going up against Derek Johnson, and I have to keep my eyes on that. Well, Derek Johnson
played for the Chiefs in like 50 years.
And signed with the Oakland Raiders, so Derek Johnson didn't have a goddamn thing to do with this game. Stephen A. was appropriately roasted on Twitter and other social media platforms after this happened. But Fred, let's get into this for a minute, man, because this is precisely one of the reasons why we started War Room Sports 8 years ago. One is, I can give you some of the reasons. We were tired of groupthink, where every pundit had the same opinion about some stuff. We were also tired of everybody being so politically correct and scared to give actual opinions on the stuff that they were analyzing. We were also tired of people putting entertainment value over good analysis. And I'll give you an example of that. A lot of times, I think when you have more than one of these talking heads on the show, one person will take one angle, the other person will take the other angle. Fred, neither of these people may believe the things that they're saying, but it's better entertainment when you can argue about something rather than agree on something. Personally, I feel, what we do here at War Room Sports, what you and I do on our shows, if we disagree with something, we let it be organic. We're not going to force arguments and fake arguments, just for entertainment value. And I feel that, that sports had gone in that direction. And last but not least, I felt that a lot of these talking heads on television, I just knew in the back of my mind, like you listen to these guys, you're like, they do not watch games. They have a team of researchers, especially at these big companies like ESPN, who gives them statistics and highlights and recaps and all of that kind of stuff, and they just bloviate like they know everything about stuff that they're really not watching. You can tell basketball, football, you can tell in most sports when a quote-unquote analyst is just, gathering statistics and stuff like that and not actually watching the game. You can
exactly.
Tell.
Yeah. Yeah, you can.
Where he was basically he frauded himself.
He read the wrong cheat sheet.
Because Stephen A., I don't really think he knows much about sports outside of basketball anyway. And even in basketball, I think now more so than being that guy who sat around and watched every game like he probably did back when his career started, I think now he just relies on the fact that his Rolodex is large and he can call this person and I can name drop this person. But when you listen to him talk about basketball, you sometimes wonder if he's watching games too. It seems like their takes are, Captain Obvious type takes on most people. Certain players in basketball, football, whatever, they get this certain reputation.
Kevin Durant is the best player in the NBA. I mean, he's
right, but not even
James
just
the best player in the
like
NBA.
That, like once you get a certain reputation, once you know somebody plays a certain way, once you know a team does certain things, like no matter how far in the future this is, you keep saying the same things about them, and you can be half right because you're doing stuff that everybody knows. So, yeah, I really think he exposed himself. And, like, to me, like, we can make mistakes sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not knocking him for actually making a mistake. But I think it's different because, like I said earlier, these dudes get fed information as much as information as they want. So if we make a mistake, it's because our asses got to sit down here and watch every game to know, exactly what we're talking about. So within all this information, this data that we're compiling and computing in our heads, okay, we might slip up on a name here and there. Might say San Diego from time to time. I don't think they have those things. And I think he really exposed, not just himself, I think he exposed the bigger picture of what goes on for all of these people that's getting paid so much money to do this.
There's not a lot for me to add into that, but what I can tell you, honestly, I feel like what I feel like is the person on the other side of that headset that is clearly hidden from us viewers, but we know it's there when they when those talking heads turn their heads. Oh, yeah. Somebody's trolling. And he's trying to multitask, and he's hearing San Diego Chargers. Tell him about Hunter Henry, and he just tries to go with it. Somebody's trolling because there's no possible way that you can really, as a football fan. I mean, I don't really listen to Stephen A. as much as many do. I'm more partial to the other show on the Fox channel, but with his former partner in crime, Skip Bayless, because his takes are even more outlandish. But sometimes there's nuggets of truth in them. But yeah, you have the roles and. You have a lot of things that go on, but this is inexcusable because, every now and then I might, like you said, I might slip up on a name. I might slip up on maybe when it comes to names like Tua Tagovailoa, like most people don't get. It took me a while to catch on to that name. That's a very unique name, but I make sure I'm on point with what I'm doing because. You want to make sure you're relaying the proper information because this is what you do. And for me, when I look at this, I'm saying to myself, Stephen A., you just got it. Now the world knows how much you've been exposed. We on the other side, us who pay attention, we know. But now you're really getting exposed. It's been done. It's been done, and I got a good kick out of it. I still want to know that LaDainian Tomlinson get in that game because, I'm looking forward to that. But,
it's like
maybe Dan Fouts.
I mean, because if you listen to him talk, he distracts you with all the screaming and all the antics. Mm-hmm. He distracts you from the fact that he's not saying anything of any substance by screaming and doing his act. And it's gotten old, but the crazy part is about it, these big networks, it's more about entertainment these days. So the more he screams, the more his rating goes up, the more he gets paid to know even less. And, like I said, he was exposed. And it would be funny as hell if there was an actual producer in his ear telling him this stuff just to probably prove a point to somebody else. Like, watch this. I bet you if I say this, I bet you he says it. But he's out here naming players who damn near dead. like you might as well name a couple of dead people, but you naming dudes with torn ACLs, dudes who don't even play for the franchise anymore, cities that the franchise has moved out of.
His claim to fame is the Allen Iverson thing and how much he covered Allen Iverson. I think at some point you got to move on. I mean, even the Brian Windhorst of the world, his claim to fame is LeBron James, his whole career. You follow him. Okay, find something else. You got to do something different. You have to evolve. If you're going to be a talking head, you can't. And I applaud people like friend of the show, Jamel Hill. Just when I look at people like her, Michael Smith, people like that, they've evolved. And they're able to, they're real sports heads, but it's more of the culture more than just simply the sport. Knowing that you can I can memorize stats all day long, But if you don't actually watch the game, there's context with it's like reading a good book and having a good conversation. There has to be context. Stats only tell that's just a nice summary. That's a nice summary. But when you watch the game like we did on Thursday night, where we're literally watching, stats will tell you that the Chiefs probably should have won that game. And if I only saw stats, Chiefs won the game. But when you watch that game, you knew the Chargers came back and won that game. Now, I don't know if it was the San Diego Chargers or the Los Angeles Chargers, but, Chargers won that game.
And I don't know, if Kareem Hunt scored a touchdown in that game or not. Let Stephen A. tell it he may have. So, because there's people out there that's contributing to the game with torn ACL. Some tough, the Chargers
in that game in the second half. So
Chargers got some tough ass dudes, man. They can contribute with torn ACLs and I don't know how you can be with another team and come play a Thursday nighter with the Chargers. But new rules in the NFL, it's crazy. All right, so let's get to our Pick Six segment, and we're going to start this off with your Patriots versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, who've also been dropping some games that they probably shouldn't have dropped. The Patriots also are coming off a pretty bad loss. So who wants it more this week after a bad loss? Who you got?
Patriots still in the hunt for the number one seed. They're kind of on the outside looking in now because of a play that was called Boise. They actually called it Boise. That was the craziest thing I've seen in a long time. A Bill Belichick team losing on special teams to a missed field goal and a missed extra point. And a last-second hook and lateral.
Miracle.
You have
kind of stuff that we never see work.
These are things that never happen, and Gronk's on the field, and Kenyon Drake says when he touched the ball and he saw Gronk on the field, he was like, they got Gronk on the field. He's not catching me. I'm gone.
Right.
I mean, that's what –
like you put
those were his words verbatim. So
to prevent this.
I mean, and I understand you put Gronk in the game to bat the ball down for a Hail Mary, but Ryan Tannehill doesn't have that kind of arm to throw it 80 yards. And who did you think he was, Aaron Rodgers? I mean, come on, Coach. But, the Patriots struggled in that game, and they tend to struggle with Miami, especially down south. So I'm not really concerned as many are. I'm not pushing the panic button or anything. We forget this same Patriots team knocked off those Chiefs. They knocked off those Texans. So they have tiebreakers against those teams if it comes down to it.
Right.
But for this game in particular, the Steelers don't seem like they're clicking. Le'Veon Bell, this is the part of the year where Le'Veon Bell is needed. This is where James Conner doesn't help you, especially when he's not available. You can't go into a game against a Bill Belichick coached team and think you're going to be one-dimensional. Goodbye, Antonio Brown. Or, in other words, you can have either it's going to be one way or the other. It's either Antonio Brown can get off and he's going to go off for crazy amounts of yards and he'll have a couple touchdowns maybe, but no one else will touch the ball. Or Antonio Brown, we're going to take you away, and Ben's going to have to find somebody else to make plays. Who's going to make plays? Tom Brady's been getting – on the other side, has been getting hit a bit. The run game didn't look great against the Dolphins, but the Steelers' defense has been just sliced cheese. They've been Swiss cheese. So, I mean, there's holes everywhere. I mean, the running game is going to work more than likely. You're going to see a lot more Sony Michel. You're going to see a lot of the Cordero Patterson in the rounds. Julian Edelman's going to do his typical Julian Edelman, 4 to 6 catches, 70 yards, maybe a touchdown, making critical catches when they matter. And I don't think Gostkowski, he's typically a consistent kicker. He doesn't miss a lot of kicks. Every now and then he gets it out of his system early so he doesn't have it late. Hopefully that was that get it out of your system kind of moment. But he only really, really missed misses maybe 4 or 5 kicks a year, and they don't really affect the game. Those kicks in that game affected that Miami Dolphin loss. But this one, I'm taking the Patriots in this one. I think Tom Brady might have a little bit of an axe to grind, and really those guys know that they still have a little bit of an outside chance at that number 1 seed. And the way the Chiefs are playing, they may want to get that number 1 seed just in case.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Patriots as well in this one, man. The Steelers defense has been very accommodating to the opponents in the past few weeks. I mean, pretty much all season. I mean, it's nut cutting time, and until somebody can prove us wrong about what the Patriots do at this point in the season and beyond, then I'm going to have to believe that Bill Belichick is going to have those guys prepared and ready to go into a hostile environment and come out with a win. So I'm going to take the Pats as well. We got the Buccaneers and the Ravens. The Ravens have a new starting quarterback. I mean, he's been starting for them for a few weeks now, but it's been made official because Joe Flacco is now available for action, and Harbaugh has made the decision to stick with his young quarterback. Flacco's going to have to, take that clipboard and be ready in case, the young guy goes out of the game, which he has been doing over the last few weeks. It doesn't seem like he can get a full slate of plays in because he always has to go visit the tent for a couple of minutes during these games. But at this point, at least you have Flacco backing him up instead of RG3. So, tough one here, but let me take that back. There's not much of a tough one. I got the Ravens in this one. I think they're going to
I was wondering where you'd snap out of
it. Yeah. It's not tough. I don't know what I was thinking about. That must have been a Stephen A. moment, too. Nothing tough here because, the Ravens, of course, still led by defense. And this is in Baltimore, I believe. So,
this game's in Baltimore. It's going to be about 43 degrees, 10, 11 mile an hour winds. You're going to have a 72% chance of rain / snow, whatever you want to call that, what's about to fall.
That sounds like having a running game and a running quarterback is going to be a great benefit in this one. Ravens easy. Who you got?
Yeah, I got to take the Ravens in this one. Jameis has been – the one thing I've always said about this Bucs team, and I keep hammering it away, is this team is the most consistently inconsistent team I've seen all year. 1 minute, Jameis looks like he's ascending into superstardom, and then 1 minute it's, who is that at quarterback? And until that goes away, and that's not something that he can fix by himself. That's something the organization has to fix. It starts from the head coach, and it trickles down. I don't see that from this team. You're taking a team that typically plays in warmer climate. You're putting them in. Granted, we've had a little bit of cold weather and some bad weather here, so they could practice in that. But I don't see how the Buccaneer defense is going to be able to hold up. They don't play great against the run. They're more of a pass rushing bunch. Tons of injuries all throughout their defense. Middle linebacker's gone. Quan Alexander's gone. You also have Vernon Hargreaves gone. You have a bunch of issues on that defensive side. And by the way, they are the bomb squad. Give me the Ravens. I think that defense is going to make Jameis think twice about coming to Baltimore.
Okay. All right, so we got Packers-Bears, Soldier Field, 1 p.m. Sunday. Rivalry game, one of the oldest rivalries in the league. What's your thoughts on this one, man? This Packers team has to be pretty desperate at this point. But what is desperation going to do for him?
Khalil Mack meet Aaron Rodgers. Khalil Mack meet 3 sacks. Khalil Mack continue to just bolster your case for Defensive Player of the Year. Hey, Aaron Rodgers, don't separate your shoulder, please. Bears win.
Pretty much. I'm starting to hear rumblings of people thinking that the Bears could possibly be, the Eagles from last year.
Whoa, Paul, not ready for that yet.
I'm starting to hear those rumbles, man. I'm seeing places where people are saying that the Bears could end up in the Super Bowl and this and that. Cute story. You got Mitchell Trubisky, young quarterback, just like Carson Wentz last season. Hopefully for him, he doesn't get injured the same way. And whatever run that they can make, I hope he's available to go ahead and make it. But I don't quite see it yet. I think the offense is a little – I'm not going to say wildly inconsistent, but I think the offense is a little bit inconsistent.
They win with smoke and mirrors. You can go ahead and say it.
Right. And we would just have to wait, and they have to prove that they can do it when it counts. So I'm not ready to jump on that particular bandwagon yet, but I do think that they can go ahead and pull this game out against the Packers, man. This is one thing that over the years I've always been reluctant to do. Like in spots like this, no matter what the record is, I still look at Green Bay, I look at Aaron Rodgers and say, man, he should be able to pull one out against these guys. But it hasn't been working out that way, so I'm not going to keep hedging my bet on this Aaron Rodgers-led team, and they keep, letting me down. So I'm going to go with the Bears in this one as well. Let's move on to the Dolphins and Vikings. This matchup is where is it? This is a 1:00 matchup in Minnesota. 7-6 Dolphins versus the 6-1 Minnesota Vikings. You talked about the Vikings earlier and how they could be possibly relinquishing the wild card spot to a team in a division as bad as the NFC East, possibly. I think Minnesota is another team that I would consider desperate at this point. I considered them desperate last week, and that didn't really do much. This is a home game. I think desperation really has to kick in now. Miami's coming off of a big win that they probably that they shouldn't have had. I'm not even going to say probably. They're coming off a big win that they shouldn't have pulled out. It's going to be interesting to see where their mindset is after that. Are they going to use that as a springboard of momentum, or are they going to be so high from that they're going to go in here and lay an egg against Minnesota? And considering Miami's history, I'm going to bet on laying an egg. Give me Minnesota in this one.
Give me Minnesota in this one. The one thing, Miami has a lot of work to do if they're going in very little time. If they even wanted to get into this wild card discussion, they're actually behind the Colts. They're 2 games out, but they're kind of in that they're mashed between the Colts and the Titans, and hoping the Ravens lose, and then hoping the Chargers, who've already clinched the playoff spot. You're hoping a lot of things happen, and I just don't see how you find a way after coming off an emotional win like that. Do you do it twice in a row? I'm not ready to say that yet. And Ryan Tannehill, one of the things that was lost in last week's win was he hurt his ankle pretty bad. He came out for a bit, and Brock Osweiler came in. And you know how those ankle injuries are. They linger. They may not seem like anything right then, but you're going up north. It's getting cold. That ankle stiffens up. Even though it's an indoor stadium, it's still cold. And you have to interact with it a little bit. So for me, you're dealing with a desperate Vikings team who fired their offensive coordinator. You don't fire your offensive coordinator this close to, and he was supposed to be the guy. DeFilippo, he was supposed to be the guy who's next up as far as head coaches are concerned. He's been fired. So now, the one thing I've been waiting to see is I want to see Kirk Cousins earn this $90 million guaranteed. I haven't seen one game yet under him where he's earned it, where he puts his team on his back. And we've discussed this before. Quarterbacks who certain quarterbacks, they're the tractor and some are the trailer. Well, he's the trailer. You give him a lot of weapons, make him look good. But I feel like Dalvin Cook is the engine for this team, and he hasn't gotten going because the offensive line hasn't been great. Defense has been an injured mess, but I think it'll be enough to beat the Dolphins and possibly just hang on there because, again, they're hanging on by a thread. They are literally hanging on by a thread. The only thing that is saving them right now is they have a game where they lost to Seattle. They needed to win that one. So they're going to have to finish strong the rest of the way. I think this will be a good start to it. They have the Lions and the Bears left. So you have to really you have to win this one now because the Bears aren't going to give you anything.
All right. Speaking of desperate teams, the Sunday Nighter features the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles at 6-7 for the second year in a row, going out to Los Angeles to visit the Rams, but this time at 11-2. This is not the even, this could be an NFC championship type matchup that they had last season. This is one team in dire straits and one team fighting for home field throughout the playoffs. There's not much for me to say on this, man. The Eagles, they don't get much offense in the first half of games, and I don't care who's going to be under center on Sunday. If you play one half of football against the Rams, you're not going to get a win. So I don't care if it's Carson Wentz, Nick Foles, Nate Sudfeld, Nate Peterman. I don't care who it is. You play one half of football against the Rams, and I don't think you're going to be very successful. So give me the Rams in this one. Maybe they put my Birds out of their misery this season, and we can start looking forward to next year, trying to climb back out of the doldrums and becoming elite again.
Well, when this game's over, I have one thing I can give you. I can give you an invite to join the dark side for the rest of the season. You can do that. I'll give you that invite. I'll offer that hand to you. I'll offer that to you because when this game's over, your season's over, sir, and you can enjoy being called Super Bowl champions until there's a new team crowned going into the 2019-2020 season. Sorry, but the Rams are winning this one, and they might just blow this team out.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't have any qualms with that.
So you can come to the dark side and root for my team when you guys are done losing.
Got to be objective. Can't be, Skip Bayless or any of these other guys you see on TV, super homers. And last but not least, we got the Saints visiting the Carolina Panthers. This is the Monday night game, 11-2 New Orleans Saints versus the 6-7 Carolina Panthers. The crazy part about this is the fact that the Panthers have New Orleans. Minnesota should get challenged by Miami. It's still enough, even when the Rams roll over my team, to maybe keep their names in the mix. I don't even want to be in the mix at 6-8 or whatever they're going to be after this weekend. But the NFC is so bad this season, they might still be in the mix after yet another loss. Cam Newton has some motivation, some extra motivation, and in the form of a broom hanging in his locker room that was gifted to him last season after the Saints swept 3 games, not just 2, because they got them in the playoffs, after they swept 3 games against their NFC South rival. He said that the gift was disrespectful. Somebody from the Saints sent it to him, but he kept it as motivation, and he's going to, he and his team are going to go out this week and try to do everything they can do to not let that happen again. Cammy. The problem is, I don't think there's going to be much that they can do about allowing it to happen again. So as far as Cam and his motivation to prevent being swept and prevent the broom from meaning anything.
Well, we don't believe you. You need more people.
Give me the Saints.
This one's going to be tough, and I've thought about this one for a while because the Saints have kind of tailed off a bit since beating the Rams earlier in the year. They're putting up points, but the defense hasn't looked great. You lose to the Cowboys 13-10. You don't really put it on the Bucks. You put 28 up, but that game was kind of close for about a half. And now you get Carolina not once, but twice in the next 2 times in 3 games, and you'll sandwich the Steelers in there too. You got that team isn't out of the woods. So what if I told you Drew Brees' offensive line isn't one of the best offensive lines that you want to be behind running the football, and that could be his demise? What if I told you that the defense was a little bit better than we thought, but the offense may find some issues? Because going up against the Panthers' defensive line, which is pretty good, their defensive line is pretty good. They can put pressure on Drew Brees. And, I think that's what's going to be the thing. Defensively, the Panthers like to keep their linebackers on the field. They have fast linebackers, so they don't want to go sub-package, nickel, dime. They don't want to do that. They want to keep those linebackers on the field. They want to stop the run because we all know how well the Saints run the football. And don't equate yards with how many yards you rush for with how well you're running the football, because they do kind of rotate their backs. But seeing how if you can kind of slow that running game down, it stops the play action. And if you stop play action, that's when you get Drew Brees in a little bit of trouble. If you're just asking him to drop back 30, 40 times, not so much. If you're interrupting the timing of this offense, that's when you have problems. This game's going to be close, but give me the Saints only because, and I hate picking this one because this one is, I actually wanted to go the other way for pretty much the whole time. I've been really going with this one. Weather is a big factor because we know how Drew Brees and that Saints team play in not so great weather. It's going to be 47 degrees, and it's going to be in Carolina. And we know what we've seen in the last week or so with their weather. Actually, I'm going to do it. Go ahead. Give me the Panthers right now before I even change the mic. Give me the Panthers to win this one. Yeah, give me the Panthers to win this one at home. Because of the weather, they use that to their advantage. They cut the game in half. Cam Newton finds a way to get his team into the playoffs. This is his playoff push. Give me the Panthers.
All right, there you have it.
I talked myself into it.
Even though they're a home team, this is definitely considered an upset. So Fred's upset special of the week, Carolina Panthers over those New Orleans Saints. So there you have it, good people. That's our Pick 6 segment, and that's our show for this week. Man, make sure you catch archive episodes of Cover 2 at WarRoomSports.com, also on the War Room Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you catch everything else that we're doing. That's the War Room. That's also quick slants for all you college football heads. Same mediums, WarRoomSports.com, War Room Sports YouTube channel. We'll be in the house on Sunday, in the building, watching all the games, giving you analysis on any form of social media that you like it. We'll be on Facebook, we'll be on Twitter, we'll be on the GroupMe app in the War Room Sports Game Time group. We'll be everywhere. Hit us up. Make sure you talk your smack during the game, talk your smack after the game, talk your smack before the games. Just talk your smack because we'll be there to talk it with you. Fred, you got any parting shots before we get out of here for the week?
Parting shot. Nothing really this week. I can't really say much after a not so great loss. But you can hit me up on Twitter, Fred Purdue, CFB. College football season kind of tailing off, so I can kind of dig into this NFL a little bit.
All right. Yeah, I heard it from the man here. Y'all can hit him on Saturday about that college. You can hit him on Sunday about that NFL. But for now, we are out of here. This has been another episode of Cover 2 with McMillan and Purdue. For my man Purdue, I'm McMillan. Like we always tell you guys, don't accept mediocrity. Be steadfast in the war against ignorance. We'll see you chumps on top.
Going up to LaFell. Touchdown. The big screen. Sanchez over the middle. Touchdown. Play action. Cutler wide open. Sanzenbacher.
Are y'all finished or y'all done? I ain't got no more talking.